We have a client, we've got 2 clients that do events in Berlin once a year, and it's like Vanessa Lovett, her name is from Financial Times, great person. She used the term trading events, and it's basically an event that everyone goes there because that's where business gets done. And these 2 events are that, and exactly like you said, they have the revenue, the following, and the size to probably go to a trade centre or to an to an Excel or to a Messe in Germany, but they know that they'll lose the feeling of community. They like it that there's lots of restaurants around that people can, like you said, bump into people in the nearby restaurants and everything. And I think sometimes that's exactly right. That would be their biggest failing if they moved from this beautiful hotel, which is an absolute pain in the arse for them logistically to make that event fit in there. They're almost at a point that they're one of our clients that they're just going to buy out the whole hotel just for the rooms that they need. But if they move to an exhibition centre, they would lose the whole feeling. And that's like intangible. You can't. That's hard to report on, isn't it? The numbers won't tell you this is what people want. It's just a feeling in the air that if you did that.
We had an exhibitor who had exactly the same experience. They said that the trade show itself got the same numbers through, got the same people through. The daytime work that they were able to do at the show was on a par. But they lost all of that 24/7 wraparound from the event because there was nothing outside of that event venue. So visitors and exhibitors were spread so far within sort of an hour and a half drive even to get to the site venue, that all of that community aspect, all of that follow-up from those half an hour on the stand, we'll see you tonight in the bar, or we'll go for a meal tonight, just couldn't be coordinated. So, some of those decisions are critical in terms of the way that events can succeed or fail.
Absolutely.
Because I don't want to go to an event if it's not easy to get to. You want to be able to get there easily. You want to know that you can stay close by. You want to know that everything is around here, not that you've got to travel here and travel there. Like it's not a good use of your time as a visitor to think, oh, it's going to take me all that time to get there. Then I can't park. Then I can't do this. It's got to be smooth right from the start, otherwise. Yeah,
and on top of that, when you were talking about the networking thing, when we go to Confex or Event Tech Live or any other production show, when you bump into someone in the thing, you know that even if I didn't know you when we first met at Confex, I was like, here's a beer. I know you're in events and you work in B2B.
It was.
Here's a beer.
It was literally that. Hey, nice to meet you. Here's a beer. I'm going to get on with this.
That was the friendship seal.
Exactly, But when it was great because I could go into that room and I could talk to anyone and I know that whereas there's a massive event that we go to in the States every year, brings together venues, everyone who's a part of events, people who build stands, people who do even like the most niche thing, like catering and things like this. To me, when I'm there, it's nice to meet you, but then they go, oh, we do catering or we do this other part of an event that me as what I do in a solution provider perspective. I'm like, that's great to know you, but we run in very, very different circles. We probably don't even deliver anywhere near the same events. And then, like you said, you then sort of feel a bit like, I don't want to chat to every person here because what am I going to be talking about with them?
You're tired anyway. The events are a long period of time, aren't they? And it becomes very, very more formalised. I find with some of the big events, we've got a big event next year in terms of in Munich, and it's still classed as the world's biggest trade fair. And literally trying to work with our clients there to say, you're going to miss the opportunity, you're not going to get a second opportunity. Because if they go past you today, they ain't coming back. There's some events, if you think of somewhere like Coventry Rico, as a venue, they walk past you, they'll be back. It's not too big. You're going to work your way around. This one, you could be walking for 50 minutes.
You need a bus to get to the next hall.
So the whole running of that event for clients is, you've got to be more structured, you've got to be more formalised, even down to those evenings. So you're making organised, formal evening meal bookings with set people, whereas some of the other events, it is a lot more. We'll meet you at this tent later, about 8ish. And you know that you're going to find them in and around because the community, where you're going. It just doesn't happen with some. So we've got a challenge in terms of how we manage those expectations.
But are those challenges, like, I think there is a bit of a nature post-COVID to go, these are all new challenges. They're the same challenges we've been facing forever. And I think we don't want to fall into this kind of thing of, it's harder than it's ever been and all these kind of things. It is tough out there, budgetarily. It's really difficult. But it was really difficult in 2008. It was really difficult in, so these times are changing. Like, I see quite a lot of synergy with in my space more with kind of nightclubs and stuff like that, and like the number of nightclubs falling away. You look at the Nighttime Industry Association, their numbers, one a week or whatever, nightclubs disappearing, and there is a clamour of people of my age and older going, I wish it was back how it used to be. And I just think that it's never going to be how it used to be, because that time has gone and passed, and the events world probably has a similar thing that it needs to go through now and go, what it was isn't what it's going to be, so actually how can we continue to evolve and drive and deliver? And that's exciting actually, more than challenging, because how are we going to get like young people who are less bothered about getting drunk than I was when I was 18. Like, how are we going to involve them in festival environments? Because they're still happy to spend money to go to things that is in their lane. So we just need to better understand, as people, that effectively our job as an event organizer is bringing a community together. So we need to better understand the community and provide for them a solution that offers that, be that physical, digital, hybrid, like all these kind of things, all these kind of conversations, and we'll never solve that today. But I think it's just that it's a constant evolution of the industry.
Yeah, like you said, when one problem's been addressed, there's another one waiting in the wings.
We go back to language again. You know, if we actually discuss this with clients as an opportunity, as an opportunity to look at things, as an opportunity to say, okay, less budget, let's change the experience. Let's change it. We're still going to offer experience. People are still going to go away talking about it. It'll just be different.
You know? I think one of my biggest fears is that events whittle away. So, and I think actually what some event organisers are doing now is the right call to say, we're stopping now. We'll probably come back. These these events are run by promoters. They're never going to change their DNA. They're going to come up with the next proposition. Like, the worst thing you can do, and I won't name them, but you see some events that become slightly smaller versions of themselves every year, and they start to cut corners, and at the end you're like,
I don't want that.
I remember what that was. So much better. Like Black Deer this year, like taking a really big call to not happen in 25, come back bigger in 2026. Amazing narrative around it. It's really tough out there, but we'll be back. We're also doing this on the side. That's how to do it, rather than just that whistling away.
I think as well, I was just thinking then that when I talk to my clients, you know, it's like, I know you've got issues with your budget or whatever, but actually, like, this is one option, option 1, option 2, option 3. What do you prefer? What do you want to do? What's your end game here with your event? You know, do you want who do we want to attract, and what do you think they're going to want? And, you know, if you've only got that much budget, this is what we can do, but we can make it work. We can do this, we can try that. So I think I found a lot of what I'm doing now is that whole kind of hand holding and suggesting this and sharing different ideas, or saying, come to this event with me and see this, or I'll introduce you to these people. And it's just opening the client's eyes that they don't necessarily need to do what they've done, because they could do this instead and still get value for money, but it's just something a little bit different. And that's what I tend to find now. What I do is more, well, what have you seen? Because you freelance, what have you seen? What looks good? Oh, and where's that badge from? And how do I get that data? And what did that look like? Because the clients don't tend to go out there in their comfort zone, so they need our eyes to go, oh, look.
And we're all guilty of it. When we're like, the world's mental right now. Me and Jack were just sharing about how we're basically never at home anymore. But sometimes it's really difficult, and it takes some third party to go, just stop a sec. Let's just think back. Like you said, probably a lot of people never thought of biannual. They're too busy going, what are we going to do for this year? We need to make this work. You go, well, what if we just did it slightly different? Let's do a roadshow this year and a massive pilgrimage the year after as an annual event. And you go, oh my God, that would solve everything. But you've got to just take a step back, take a breath, and go, let's just take away the constraints of what we're trying to work in here and see if there's another option. So there always is another option. I mean, like you said, my wife works in design, and she's forever saying to people, like, just, you don't need to, let's just remove all the walls here, because, you know, we could knock this wall down and then that solves everything. I didn't think of knocking down a wall because it seems so permanent and crazy, but you can always put the wall back and for festivals, like you were saying, you can always go back to being annual. It's not like once you go biannual, you can never go back. So like you're saying, the opportunities now is actually quite in short-term things. There's a lot of organisations that are launching events that they're not going to launch and run forever, looking at AI-driven events and things like this. They're going, well, I'm going to run that. It'll probably run for like 3-5 years, and then it's probably not going to really be that interesting. We'll probably go to biannual because there's not many changes happening each year, and then eventually they'll just go, cool, that's it, have its shelf life now. We've got to be evolving, and the next thing's got to come along, and that's the way to do it, really, I think.
Yeah, I think one thing, and this just harping back to the previous conversation very slightly, is that I, in 16 or 17 years of delivering events, have never sat down with a client or a sponsor that's gone, budget is not an issue, we've got all the money in the world. Like, that never happens, that never used to happen.
If you find one,
I'll
give you my business
I genuinely
card.
don't, everyone's like, oh, budgets are under pressure. I can't remember working in the time when budgets weren't under pressure, because it's the conversation. Like, people are always trying to achieve slightly more with what they've got. Yeah. So if they've got slightly less, they're still trying to achieve more than they should be with that money. Agree. So, like, I don't think this is new. I don't think this. It
does bring up a really good point though, because in the tech industry, I don't know if this is translated everywhere else. After Hopin was bought for obscene amounts of money, all of us as industry people were looking at going, well, you've bought this massive virtual event platform, like events are going to come back. But everyone outside of the industry was going, oh my God, this is going to be the next big thing. And then we saw probably about five companies off the top of my head in my world, in solution providers for tech, that came in and had lots of VC money, which is actually... Yeah. They did come in and have limitless budgets in a really weird way. People were like renting yachts at the Cannes Festival. Ridiculous. The ROI on that, they were never going to get that back. Yeah. So then, like you said, because there always is sometimes someone who has this limitless budget that people go, whoa, these guys are awesome, but it's not going to last forever. They fall down by the wayside. But then it makes our budgets, when we're doing ours, going, God, we're not doing anything really compared to them.
It's managing those expectations, isn't it? Because if you offer someone something, they then become to expect it. Yeah. And we've said this with customers in the past, where we want to do this, this, and this. Right? Well, can we afford to maintain that for the next 3 years? No. All right. So should we grow? Yeah. Should we grow with our audience? Yeah. You know, and manage that expectation so they feel part of that journey at times. Yeah. You know, if you can grow with, if your audience can grow with, if they're constantly listening to feedback from the audience, and actually the audience is seeing that you're listening and you're changing based on what they've said, you know, that retention grows stronger. That sort of ownership, even though they don't physically own it, they feel as though they own it because they've gone on that journey with you. Yeah. And I think trying to capture that comes back to data, comes back to feedback, comes back to listening, comes back to, you know, and that's the full 360 of everyone who's worked on it, everyone who's experienced it, and saying, what did we get right? What didn't we get so right? How do we reduce those and how do we increase those so the experience is better and we move forward?
I quite like the challenge though of, like, if the client says the budget's changed, like, oh, right.
Yeah.
How can you make it work? And then, like, yes, we managed to do it, you know, for the budget you want, you know, and you know, all their expectations have been surpassed. So I quite like that challenge as well. Like, we're going to make it work, and that's when you use your community. Like, you go to all your contacts, say, right, what can we do? Can you help me? Yeah. And that's the bit that I like, is that, and then you say to the client, look, we can do all this for what you want.
And reviewing it every year, though, I think we're all actually probably guilty of when, like you said, when COVID came, we all took stock and went, right, what do we need to change? And had huge meetings and meetings about meetings to plan it. But actually...
And quizzes.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But,
bloody quizzes.
I do miss that on New Year's. Yeah, like a little New Year's quiz, that might have to come back.
I don't miss the fancy questions.
But the upside of it was that we all transitioned and streamlined and did everything great, but then we've almost forgotten to do these proper yearly... America does it really well. Every year, some of our, especially our association clients, they do an off-site. They go away for 2 days, stay somewhere, and they go, what's the objective of this? We're going away and we're just going to review. Yeah. And
public sector's good at that. Public sector have that as part of their structured management.
They love a meeting in the public sector, though, don't
they? Hello everyone, I'm Richard Smith, Chief Commercial Officer at Wyboston Lakes Resort, and we are thrilled to sponsor the Events Insight podcast. At Wyboston Lakes, we understand that events are more than just gatherings. They're opportunities to connect, inspire, and make a lasting impact. Our award-winning facilities offer state-of-the-art technology, flexible spaces and a stunning backdrop to ensure every event is memorable. But what truly sets us apart is our commitment to delivering exceptional experiences, crafted with care, for every guest and delegate. We're proud to be part of this community that's shaping the future of events, and we look forward to the insights, stories and expertise shared. Enjoy the podcast.
Look, I'm going to take that role of sort of you called it a Gary Neville role.
Yeah.
I'll take the Gary Neville role and not being flippant with it, but I do want to move back towards one of the other discussion points that we had down for today. You know, and I don't want to try and keep it as a positive discussion point because it can sometimes fester it into a negative, and that is how we're managing mental health and well-being in our sector. You know, because there's a lot of talk. Is there a lot of action? Now, I see sprouts of it, but is it becoming embedded as a cultural element of our sector? And obviously we're all from different parts of the sector. And I'm just interested from a personal perspective, but also from a sector perspective, how you're finding it.
It's a tough one.
I think it is happening, and I think the fact that we don't operate outside of the society in which we operate. So the conversations around mental health are changing in society for the positive. That's undeniable. We've got a long way to go, but we've come an awful long way. And I think our industry is doing the same. It doesn't operate in a vacuum. As people that work in our industry become more comfortable talking about mental health, it's going to naturally ebb and flow into what we do day to day. I think specifics, our industry has some stuff to do, but I think there are also amazing people out there trying to do it already. I'd struggle to remember the last time I went to a conference and there wasn't an event well type space for people to take themselves away and be away from the hustle and bustle of an event. Like that, 5 years ago, that wasn't happening. That is evolution. Mental health first aiders. I don't remember the last time I worked on a festival site where there wasn't a designated mental health first aider within the team or operation delivering that somewhere on site. I worked on a number of festivals last year where a charity called Music Support were backstage specifically helping musicians and people involved in music production if they have any issues they can go to. And I dealt with some issues that came off the back of those conversations happening. So, my personal opinion, that wasn't happening a decade ago. So, yes, mental health is a conversation that we need to keep having. It's one of those important but not urgent things. But I think to put a positive spin on it, and my genuine feeling is it's getting better, and people are more open to have conversations. The more conversations like we have today, the more other people see those conversations. Remember when I talked about coming out, the number of messages I got from people going, "Oh, thank God someone's talked about it." And I'm just one bloke doing the job in an industry, right? And there's loads of other people doing it and having those conversations, and it's becoming more normalised to talk and discuss. Yes, we've got stuff to do. We'll always have stuff to do, but we're following society's lead and then implementing some event-specific stuff, which I think means it's going well.
Yeah, and I do think that actually thinking about events, we often just think of people who get to do. We all unlucky/lucky enough to work on loads of events over a year. We don't do. In my old role, we used to do 4 events a year. As an industry, we're resilient folks anyway. Anyone who's not resilient has their first year in it and goes, that's a no for me. I like to do 9 to 5 and that's my day. So number one, as a mindset, we are resilient as an industry anyway. But I think the bit that gets overlooked often is not so much the event organisers, because they get there 2 weeks after the event and go, oh, thank God that's over, relax, reset, I can center myself now. For us as suppliers to the industry, we're both just sharing, you've just gone from Vegas, their event, they're like, oh my God, thanks so much, Jack, it's been fantastic. Where are you going now? Because they're all ready to take a couple of days in Vegas, relax, celebrate what they've done. We don't get that time. We go, nice one, see you later. Yeah, you're going straight to Carolina to then go and deliver the next one. And I think that's where mental health needs its biggest growth, is actually in suppliers. We go from, just because we're a supplier, the level's still the exact same, if not more, as what the organiser's feeling. but we just then go from this one to the next one. And I think it's very tough because I think a lot of us are still in survival mode and unconsciously. And so we finish an event, we don't give ourselves stock or reward ourselves, go, that one went well, you're immediately on to the next one, which can easily just, you can work yourself down. And I think for the improvement, I think it is just more about taking stock and giving yourself a break for a little bit, whereas we'll all just work until we get told that we've got a break, and then we'll go and have a break. Do you know what I mean?
A self-education piece that you think, I don't need to take that job straight afterwards. Obviously, it was different for Jack in Vegas because you were in the country going across, but...
And Jack will never say no anyway,
that's
so
it.
it's fine.
I'll give you an example when I go back.
But I think it's the confidence as a supplier to say, you know what, I can't do that straight away. I can't do it because I'm doing this for like 3 weeks before and then that. And actually, to say no, it's obviously a really big thing to say no, but it's yourself first sometimes.
I think one thing that is that happens quite a lot in our sector, and we do need to work on, is suppliers think that they're getting the rough end of the deal. Organisers think they're getting the rough end of the deal. Like rights holders, like actually, and that often the budget conversation, I know we're not talking about that right now, but suppliers think their budgets are really tight. Organisers think their budgets are really tight. We all think we're in the same situation, but we think the other half of the sector, like I think the collaborative piece that we've talked about, actually we better need to understand how everyone's feeling. And it isn't an organiser's a fine thing, like, and suppliers are in a terrible situation, or vice versa.
True, yeah.
Like, and I think we just need to do that more. And like, we started this conversation talking about talking, and I think that is like fundamental in what we do. Better understanding of the world in which we operate, the other people who are going through what that looks like. I think if we can continue to evolve that and grow that, and things like this help. Let's just talk about it. Let's share it.
And listening to the people around you.
Yeah.
I think we're better at listening to the people around you. So the example I'll give you, and just because you picked up on that one, I got back from Carolina, I looked at my diary, and I went, because I knew I had 2 days at home and then I was away again.
Yeah.
And I looked and I said, right, I've got to go to this country again, I've got to go to that country, I've got to go to these three events in the UK. And I didn't know what to do. And I was on the phone call to a colleague. Do you really have to be there at that one, Jack? What's your reason for doing that one? And that challenge actually allowed me to be able to say, that's a nice to do, but I don't need to. Yeah. And actually not doing that gives me 3 more days at home for self-care.
Over at NOWI, the network of women in events, we're extremely proud and excited to be the shout-out sponsor for the upcoming 14th season of the Events Insight podcast. We look forward to shining the spotlight on some true industry trailblazers. To find out more about NOWI, you can find us on www.nowi.org and become a member today.
I found that specifically as a business owner is harder. When I was employed previously, it was easier for me to have a matrix, and I worked really hard, but it was easier to go, right, I've done my job, I've performed what I needed to do. When you are developing your own business to a certain extent, you're like, well, if I just do that, then I generate more and the business can grow bigger and all these kind of things. When do you say no? Because there's no one to ever tell you to say so I've found that hard, like in the last couple of years, and you go, oh, yeah, I could just do that and I can just bolt that on and that'll help with where we need to get to and stuff. I've found that a real kind of learning over the last 18 months or so.
A great point, though, that you said, though, to bring it into a conversation or just to hear your ideas, like what is the level of ownership that a person has to have on their own? I know as an industry, yes, generically we could do various things, but in every way, doesn't it come back to just you yourself, you know yourself, I've not worked with this person for 15 years or your entire life, I don't know you inside and out. There is a point where, like you said, the main part is just knowing what your capabilities are and not overcommitting, because once you're a week out from the event, you can't go, I'm not going anymore, sorry. You've committed to it. So it's sort of, I do think that there is a level of it where you do have to own yourself, your own things, and I know that that's easy to say when you've been in the industry for a while, but I do think that's one thing that's massively under discussed, is just you've got to know yourself, use a network if you don't have a network, or you look at it as a project and say, right, this year I overworked, what am I going to do to stop that happening again? Or this year I feel like I need to speak more, or I don't know this and this, and I feel very self-conscious. There is a level of ownership, I think, that a person has to have. And I haven't been on the journey that you've been on at all. So, you know, at what point did you find that the best pivotal part for you was just taking ownership and going, do you know what, I'm not going to let this happen to me anymore. I'm just going to do something about it. What would you think?
Yeah, and I think I'm still working through that, to be honest. I don't think I'm there yet, and we're in our second year of business, so we're busier this year than we were last year by nature. So this is almost the first time I've experienced it. So there's I think that understanding and evolution will come. I think we just need to not be maybe too harsh on ourselves at the times when that is going too badly, because we are just all learning and trying our best to do. Yeah, we're only doing. And I guess another point that kind of springs to mind when we talk about this, and Ben from, I don't know if you've ever met Ben from Proud Events, but I've seen him talk a lot about DE&I. And about looking at your own organisation first. So we've touched a little bit today on the events industry and what the events industry can do. But what can we do in our businesses first? And with this particular mental health thing, like, do we give our teams enough time? Do we make sure we limit our lengths of shifts on site? Let's have deliverables, let's make sure we action them. Because if everyone that's in the sector does their little bit, then the cumulative impact will be huge. So I think that's really important for us to
look
think
at the
about
micro, and it will help the macro, basically.
And asking people, I've always said, and asking people twice if they're okay.
Yeah.
You know, ask people twice. And we did an exercise during, going back a few years now, and I still try and do it mostly when I'm sat at airports or somewhere else, and I'll look through my WhatsApps and I'll go right to the bottom and I'll say, I haven't chatted to them for a while. I'll drop them a note, just say how they are. Are you okay? And you don't know how, if you may say 10, the same message, 10 people you haven't chatted to for ages, one of those 10 may, have you got 10 minutes for a chat? And you don't know whether that's just supported someone. So that's the other thing that I would always encourage people, you know, in terms of, you never know where that reaching out on that one message might make an impact.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been fortunate and unfortunate enough to have burnouts in close friends and family, people who, like you said, have had assumptions of what someone's going to say without actually speaking to them about it. You know, my brother struggled when he was at uni. He didn't want to do it anymore, but he was just so nervous that we were going to be disappointed in him, or it was this huge deal, that he bottled all of that up in himself. And the only thing, as soon as he just let that go, like you said in talking, it was fantastic. But we could only help him so much. You know, there was just that point where you have to, like you said, you have to go, if you're not happy, like, that's fine. It's fine to not be happy, but you don't have to live like this. Like, just, you can go do something else, or you can change. You don't go to uni anymore. Go and do that. Now he works in just said he finished his course and then felt a bit aimlessness and felt like he was up a creek without a paddle. But then we just said, well, just do something, get a job, go do this. He ended up in a warehouse, and hilariously, this weird coincidental turn of fate, they had this new team that they were building out. His degree was in computing. He didn't finish it, but there was people coming in with computer science degrees, but because they hadn't worked in the warehouse, they were like, actually, Joel, we'll have you, mate, because you know the warehouse, you know about that stuff, and you've got this stuff. And it was just like, you never could have said to someone, like, in 3 years' time, this is what you're going to do, because it would have felt like it was an impossibility. But I think it's sometimes taking a break and going, right, let's just work to the next bit, and the next bit, and then take the next step, and then the next step. Don't worry about getting up the hill. Don't look at the top, just take the next step, you know?
I love that.
And I think that's a really nice way to sort of finish this up, because actually you've got us back onto journeys again, which when we first created this podcast was about people's journeys. So I didn't even pay him to do it.
I know that. That was a beautiful wrap up there, I think.
Guys, thanks ever so much, for your time, and I'm sure we'll do another one of these, further down the line again.
When I'm older and fatter.
If you want.
Yeah.
We'll start with the sweets.
Yeah, by all means, have a sweet. But thanks ever so much, guys, coming in. It's
very much.
It's guinea pigs.
Yeah.
Guinea pigs. But it was long overdue as well. With both of you, it was long overdue. I mean, we only do fleeting high, passing ships
in the
events.
night, absolutely.
To be fair, you're on my hit list for one of my golden nuggets in terms of I've never done a festival. So I've got to do a festival. It's on my.
Get you down. Get you down to We Out Here. That's lovely.
I'm quite happy to go man a gate. To literally, everyone says, "Well, what role would you do?" Says, "I'm not worried. Not worried."
You do that one machinery one. That's sort of like weirdly like a festival for construction machinery in a weird way. Do you know what I mean? It's
crazy.
It might not be Dolly Parton on the main stage, but it's like a JCB on a massive mound.
We got pole dancers removed from written into the rules in terms of no, you are not allowed to do this at this event.
Yeah, absolutely. Is it Minehead? Is it
Hillhead? Hillhead. Then there's Mine Expo I did in Vegas.
I'm just combining the
and
two
then I've
together.
got
merging them all together.
They should have pole dancing at Hillhead.
No, it was
That'd be
written off.
incredible.
Well, literally between the jaws of one of the buckets, someone had welded a pole on one of the biggest buckets.
That'd
and
be funny.
on the hour, every hour, someone came out from the hospitality facility and they got a crowd, shall we say.
It wasn't the target audience.
Whether it was buyers for that piece of product or not, it was a different time. It was definitely the time that I lost my on-site crew of every hour.
Where are you? Everyone has toilet coffee breaks at that time, just so happens.
I know where to find them. I bet you do.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm the same. We don't do much on. Like, we've got a big one in January, but we don't do huge shows. I never have come from that.
I'm pleased that sort of culture has changed, though. You know, because there was a time, you know, in terms of. I'm using bad language here, but the leaflet girls who used to go around the events and handing stuff out. The number of arguments I've had previously and historically with clients in terms of, but we're doing a giveaway for Vegas. Fine, we'll put them in a croupier outfit.
Yeah, put them in something.
You know,
relevant,
have a male and a female in a croupier outfit and poker chips.
Yeah.
Oh, but will they really look at those? Yes, because they're in a croupier outfit.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, just change your mental, outlook on things. So we've still got some old mindsets that we still need to challenge, and I still think that's going to exist. But
it does come out just calling people out on a micro level, though, just like some granddad that says something inappropriate that you have to just go. You can't just go, "Oh, he's old." Like,
you don't
off. You have to.
You
have to just say you can't say that anymore. That's not right. And like you said, it's those.
I didn't mean offence.
Yeah.
And to be honest, probably didn't.
No.
And we'll go through it as well with our kids, and they'll say, "Dad, you can't say that anymore." I'm bound to do it at some point.
Exactly. You are a product of your time, aren't you?
Yeah.
And I think, like, by nature, that happens.
So £1 VKs in a nightclub we're a product of then, aren't we?
Yeah. Dreaming.
Happy days. The kids aren't going to experience it now.
I did a uni visit with my youngest back to my old uni.
Oh, wow.
And that was just, wow, how things have changed. But then one of my old uni friends rang us and says, "Oh, we're down and we're going to go. Do you fancy joining us?" And we sat there in the university bar, and the laddie was saying, "There's no university students in here." And I said, "It's a change of time. They won't be out until about 11:30 at night."
Yeah.
Whereas we were out from about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Football's on TV.
That's it. But mostly, I think it was probably just that's like an economic thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you could go out for it. You're getting a £1. £2 drink. You could go out with a 20 quid note and you could get, that was all your drinks, a kebab and a taxi home for 20 quid.
Whereas now,
I paid £9 for a Guinness in London the other day. £9.
£9.
It wasn't even
You
that
get
nice.
20 quid now.
No, got 2 drinks.
But it's the culture has changed. So even speaking to some of the bar managers, they're saying 11:30, they'll have already gone to the off license or the supermarket. They'll have had 2 bottles of wine or a pack of beer, and they'll come out at 11:30 to have one before they go into wherever they're going.
Yeah.
And that puts pressure on them because that's loss of income. So you talk about hospitality industry, same pressures in terms of buying tickets for festivals. They haven't got that cash readily available. They think it'd probably be tickets closer to the time, so I might be able to save up by then. We're in a fortunate
University's
position.
expensive, isn't it? No, it's not. It's not the same as 20 years ago, is it? Like, if they're paying for their course, they've got to pass. They've got to get good grades. That's the whole.
Whereas the first year of when it went to £8.5 a year, that was devastating.
The debt they come out with then, they're not going to leave university without.
He's done well today. He didn't mention age. at all.
You mentioned age in our episode. You said I was young.
Literally, when I was listening back to his episode, and I think 4 times, I think.
Could you feel our
I'm
eyes
20
every time
this,
you said
I'm
it?
20 this, I'm just...
I was on a journey though, weren't I? I was talking about when I was younger, so it was hard not to mention age.
When you
I
were
know,
younger.
God. And I listen to myself now and I think, God.
Do you feel like an old man now? When you were younger?
Yeah, we've got a few sick notes at our place and I'm just there like, maybe it's a generational thing, but for me, you know, you just got on with it.
Got what you want? James, you happy?
Nice.
Happy we got what you want? Smash it.
Nice, lovely.